Star Trek, Why the Kelvin Timeline Really Needs a New Series. The Kelvin Timeline, first introduced in J.J. Abrams' Star Trek 2009, was once the bright new future of the franchise. Flashy, fast-paced, and packed with energy, it successfully rebooted Star Trek for a new generation while honoring the past. Yet despite 3 big-budget movies and a passionate fanbase, the Kelvin Timeline has remained dormant since 2016 Star Trek Beyond. With Star Trek flourishing again on television through Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, and Discovery, it's time for the Kelvin Timeline to finally return, not in theaters, but on streaming, in the form of a brand new series. The Kelvin cast deserves more development. One of the biggest criticisms of the Kelvin movies is that the characters never got enough time to breathe. The films, though visually spectacular, often lean into spectacle over depth. A series would give these characters, especially Spock Zachary Quinto, Uhura Zoe Saldana, and Sulu Jancho, the room to grow emotionally and intellectually the way their prime counterparts did over years of episodic storytelling. Think about what the Next Generation did for characters like Worf or Data, arcs that unfolded across seasons. The Kelvin crew has that same potential. The series format could explore Spock's Vulcan-human conflict in greater detail, or give Uhura command-level storylines worthy of her skill and status. And with Chris Pine's Captain Kirk continuing to mature into the legend he was always meant to be, a show could show his evolution beyond just brashness and instinct. The universe is still wide open. The brilliance of the Kelvin reboot is how it created a parallel universe without erasing the prime one. Thanks to the time travel events that alter the timeline, writers have total freedom to play without worrying about canon conflicts. A Kelvin series could go anywhere, explore new worlds, revisit legacy stories with a twist, or introduce entirely new threats that feel organically different from what we've seen in Prime Trek. The destruction of Vulcan alone changed the political and emotional landscape of the galaxy. What does that mean for the Federation decades later? How have Romulan relations evolved in a post-Hobus supernova world? These are big, compelling questions that a Kelvin show could answer in exciting, unpredictable ways. Visually tailored for streaming, the Kelvin aesthetic, sleek ships, dynamic action sequences, vivid color palettes, was built for cinematic scale. But with streaming shows like Strange New Worlds and Picard now boasting movie-quality visuals, the Kelvin look fits perfectly into this new golden age of sci-fi television. Star Trek has always pushed the envelope in terms of effects and design, and a Kelvin series would continue that tradition. And it wouldn't just be about action. The visual storytelling of the Kelvin timeline could bring fresh ways to depict the philosophical and moral dilemmas Star Trek is famous for. Imagine a high-concept episode with Inception like mindscapes filtered through Kelvin-style cinematography. The medium is ready. All it needs is the green light. It's the bold move Star Trek needs right now. While current Trek shows are exploring various corners of the galaxy and time periods, most are still operating within the boundaries of the Prime universe. That's fine for continuity lovers, but some fans are craving a creative reset. The Kelvin timeline is a ready-made canvas where writers could take real risks. Characters could die. The Federation could fall. Canon could be subverted in powerful, meaningful ways because the rules are different. With the multiverse storytelling trend now firmly mainstream thanks to Marvel, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Doctor Who, revisiting the Kelvin timeline isn't a confusing detour. It's the natural evolution of Star Trek's own time-bending mythology. The new generation of fans is waiting. When Star Trek 2009 came out, it brought in millions of new fans, many of whom didn't grow up with the older series. For them, Chris Pine is their Kirk. The Kelvin crew is their Enterprise. But that fan base has been underserved in recent years, and it's high time they got a show of their own. Meanwhile, younger audiences who have come into Trek through streaming may find the energy and aesthetic of the Kelvin universe more accessible than the slower-paced classics. A Kelvin series could act as a perfect gateway, especially if it balances the high-octane action with the rich thematic depth that defines Trek at its best. Reunite the cast before it's too late. Let's be honest, the cast of the Kelvin films is